There we go. Record on. All right. Did you hear that?
Yeah, got it.
All right. So I am Bill. So I'll go ahead.
Okay.
We're excited to have you here, Jan. You may already know that supervision is an essential part of how we help counselors in the agency. Since this is our first session together, perhaps we can explore what you want from supervision and how I can help you. Building on your training and experience, maybe you can give me some ideas about the areas where you wish to grow professionally.
Well, I haven't thought about that yet. I had excellent training and experience at the EAP in the county health clinic. I'm not sure where to begin or even what I need. I recognize the need for supervision, certainly for orientation to the agency. I'd like to know about how much supervision I'll get and the focus and style of supervision here. I also need supervision to meet the requirements for licensure as a social worker.
I can understand that you're really excited about starting a new job and career. You have an excellent experience in your placement at the health clinic. I'd love to hear more about it. So perhaps you might tell me something about that placement, what you learned, and what treatment models they used there.
Wow, there's so much to tell you about. I averaged 10 clients on my caseload. Some were just assessments, but I did get to work longer terms with several clients. I sat in on several counseling sessions, observed the senior counselor conduct the sessions, and co-led a group and several family sessions. I had weekly clinical supervision with my supervisor and the senior counselors. We used process recordings in the school, and that was really sufficient because I would write the verbatim, give it to my supervisor. She'd make comments, and we'd talk about it. So I didn't really need to have her watch me work. I've heard from Margaret that in supervision, you do direct observation of counselors here, and that idea is new to me. Frankly, I'm not sure if I really need that. My model for counseling is eclectic, whatever is needed for the client. They used a lot of cognitive behavioral counseling approaches at the AP. I try to meet the clients where they are and focus my therapeutic approach to meet their needs.
So we have a good sense of your background and experience. If it's okay, I'd like to return to the earlier question about whether you have any thoughts about what you want from our supervision together.
I'm not sure. Do all counselors here get supervision and are they all observed? I'm not sure that I need observation, especially since the placement didn't do that.
I appreciate your concerns about supervision. All our counselors here receive supervision. Some agencies don't do much direct observation of staff, but we found it very helpful for a number of reasons. Here we see supervision as an essential aspect of all we do. We believe you have a right to supervision for your professional development. We have great respect for our counselors and their skills, and also understand that we have a legal and ethical obligation to supervise for the well-being of the clients.
So everyone must have supervision and observation.
We take our legal and ethical obligations seriously. We want all of our counselors, even the most experienced ones, to grow professionally, to be the best counselors they can be for their own development and for the welfare of our clients. As you probably learned in your Masters of Social Work program, vicarious liability is an emerging issue for agencies. Counselors are legally liable for their actions. Vicariously, so are the agency and the supervisor. We need to make a reasonable effort to supervise.
Okay, so what do you expect of me?
I'd like to explore that with you. I'm really interested in both what you expect of yourself and what you expect of us.
Again, I never really thought about that. I want to grow as a counselor and to develop skills that I can use in my future employment. I understood when I took this position that you do an excellent job of providing training opportunities for staff, something I really liked about the organization.
In our agency, clinical supervision is part of a larger package of staff development efforts. We try to help counselors improve their skills by offering the opportunity to work with a variety of different clients using a variety of treatment modalities, such as individual, group, couples therapy, family therapy, and psychoeducation. Also, we want staff to be able to obtain their social work or substance abuse license or certification in the future. We want counselors to develop new skills by attending training both in-house and in workshops around the state. We encourage and support any efforts you might make towards professional development, such as getting your various levels of social work licensure. Our philosophy is that one of our greatest assets is our clinical staff, and as they develop, the agency grows too. We believe clinical supervision is critically important in this mix. You and the agency benefit as a result.
Okay.
So that sounds good. Those are the skills we saw in you that we thought would be helpful to our agency. In what ways do you wish to grow professionally?
I could learn other counseling techniques beyond CBT. What do you think I need?
That's what we can explore in supervision. I need to have a sense of what you've learned and where you see your skills. In addition to talking about your skills, we find it helpful to learn through observation of our staff in action by either sitting in with you on a session or by viewing videotapes of counseling sessions. That way, we can explore your specific learning objectives. We all learn from watching each other work, finding new ways of dealing with clinical issues. What do you think of that process?
As I said, I wasn't observed in my placement and I find it anxiety provoking. I don't really like the idea of your taping my session. It feels a bit demeaning. I mean, after all, I do have my MSW. I don't recall anyone saying anything in my interview about being videotaped. Now, that's intimidating to me and the clients.
Being anxious about being taped is a fairly common experience. Most counselors question how clients will accept it. You might speak with Margaret and some of your other coworkers about their early experiences with taping, what it was like for them and how they feel about it now.
How often do we meet for supervision?
Generally, I meet each counselor individually for an hour each week. Then we do weekly group supervision where each counselor on a regular basis gets a chance to present a case and videotape. And we, as a group, discuss the case and talk about what the counselor did well and how other things might have been handled differently. When you present a case, we all grow and benefit.
I want to be a proficient therapist, ultimately to work as a private practitioner. If supervision can help me professionally, that's good.
I'm glad you see the value of supervision, and I admire your professional goals of wanting to be in a private practice. Although I must say that I have difficulties with people just passing through our agency on the way to something else. But that's my issue, and I'll address those concerns if they come up in our relationship.
Will I be criticized by others, perhaps those without as much formal training as I have? I understand you have several non-degree counselors here, certified addiction professionals with lots of life experience, but without advanced degrees.
Perhaps it would be a good idea if you began by observing in one of my groups. Then, when you're feeling more comfortable with it, we can discuss what times work best for you to be observed and what cases you'd like me to observe. This will give you this will give you time to schedule the observation. The first time, maybe I could sit in when you're working on a case that you have confidence about so we can see how you accomplish the session's goals.
Okay, that makes sense to me. I like the idea of talking to others and getting their impressions of the process and their suggestions on how to best make it work.
We also need to develop a learning plan for you, an IDP, that all staff have so that you can continue to learn. It's part of a supervision contract that we work on together. How does that sound?
It will be a new experience for me, but it sounds like it might be helpful. I'd appreciate your helping me look at my skills and growing as a social worker in substance abuse treatment.
I'll provide you with as much background in substance abuse treatment as I can and also try to help you develop as a social worker to meet your career goals.
Good. I hope it will broaden my skills and further my career goals. I can learn more about working with clients' substance abuse. I think I can learn from people in other disciplines.
Although each discipline has its unique perspective, we have a multidisciplinary team approach and value each staff member's contributions. We teach one another. For example, Margaret has worked in this unit for 10 years and has a lot of experience working with the kinds of clients you'll be treating. She's a useful resource for you to use to improve your skills so that you can be successful here and in your career. How will that work for you?
I've heard about Margaret. People have a high regard for her clinical skills, so I'm sure I can learn something from her. I still would like some more details about how the supervision works. Who else is involved and how do we do this together?
So we do individual observation and group supervision where we find common issues in our counseling using videotape and case presentation to trigger discussion of related issues. Everyone learns from the presenter's experience. Each counselor takes a turn presenting a case, including a videotape. We can cue the tape to the session segment you want us to discuss. After your brief introduction of the case, we discuss how the session went, what skills were effective, and what areas might be further developed. How does that sound?
That sounds great. Can I come to you at other times to review cases, especially while I'm learning the ropes of how things are done here?
Yes, I appreciate your wanting immediate feedback. I have an open door policy. Although I may look busy, I'll try to find some time when we can discuss whatever you want. You can also meet with others if you feel comfortable doing so. We encourage teamwork. Does that seem reasonable?
Yeah, I'm pretty autonomous at this point. I think it's great that there are other counselors and social workers I can collaborate with. It will be really helpful for me, especially now since I'm new at the job, and it's good to be able to work together. I'm okay with supervision, and I like the fact that we're both going to have an agenda, so that's fine.
So let's go back to your experience. I'd love to hear more details about your internship and what you learned there.
In my second year, I was at an EAP clinic. I had a great supervisor, Jackie. Several of my clients were alcoholics, my first introduction to substance abuse. There was something that attracted to me to understand more about the disorder and to contribute what I was learning in social work. Jackie was a social worker and a really good role model. I need to understand more about substance abuse treatment and try to marry the social work and substance abuse fields. I'm a little worried about how I'll meet my licensure requirements about being supervised by a social worker. Will that be a problem for me?
Not at all. Margaret is a social worker, and we can ask her to provide the supervision you need for social work licensure. This will allow Margaret to develop her supervision skills too. I also think that an important part of developing a professional identity is receiving coaching from an experienced person, and perhaps Margaret can assist in that area too.
That sounds fair and helpful.
You mentioned that Jackie was a good supervisor. Can you tell me what she was like and what she did that made her a good supervisor?
She was really smart. I could learn from her. When I went to talk to her, she always gave me good advice. She trusted that I knew what I was doing and didn't micromanage me. She was open about her theories and made linkages to issues. She trusted me to just go ahead and implement what I learned. She was easy to talk to. If I had a problem, I could say so.
That's so good. It sounds like Jackie and I have similar orientation as supervisors, and that should make the transition easier. I hope you'll observe from your perspective how the supervision is developing and give me feedback on the relationship process and the outcomes from your point of view. Our first step will be to expand your training by introducing you to a broad range of substance abuse issues. Perhaps at our next session, we can start developing a learning plan to apply your studies to clinical work. What do you think of that?
That'd be good. I like that you're interested in my experience about who I am. I'd like to know a bit more about you. Jackie would talk about who she was, her model of supervision, and why this work was important to her. I felt I could trust her because I knew where she was coming from. Would you tell me more about yourself?
I'd be happy to.
I have a beginning understanding of the type of supervisor you are. I like that you're direct, so I don't have to guess the agenda. So we'll work on a training plan and I'll suggest a time for you to observe a session and videotape. Is that correct?
That seems fair and clear. Any other concerns we should talk about today?
Just anxiety about the supervision.
So, although you're a bit nervous about the process, you're ready to begin. We'll start with your observation of me to give you an opportunity to get your feet wet. Then you can tell me when you're ready for me to come in and observe, maybe in the next 6 or 8 weeks.
I think sometime in the next 6 months.
Thanks for your willingness to begin and try the process.
Okay, so I can pick the client.
Yes, you can pick the client or group. We'll meet every week for about an hour. How does next week sound for the first group?
Perfect.
Okay, I'll see you
All
then.
right. See you then.
Bye.